Welcome back to math. After grading today's assignment, I'm hoping you understand a little bit more about rates and ratios. If you would take out your marker and a marker board, we're going to practice a few things here. You don't have to write this down yet, but we've learned what a ratio is. So for example, this would be considered a ratio. We've learned that a ratio can be written in 3 different ways. We've learned that a ratio can actually be turned into what we would call a rate. And remember, a rate is a ratio of 2 different things. So for example, I could say the rate is $27 for 3 pizzas. That's my rate. We've also learned if we wanted to make a unit rate, that means unit, if you remember, means the quantity 1. So if I want to find the unit rate, would I put $1? How many pizzas? No, that wouldn't exactly sound right because obviously you wouldn't get much of a pizza with $1. So the unit rate would be 1 pizza. And how much money would 1 pizza cost? Well, if 3 pizzas cost $27, 1 pizza would cost $9. Okay? So we kind of learned how to find unit rate. All right, so let's look at this first one I have here for you. 5 revolutions in 50 seconds. So revolutions would be how long it takes something to go around. Okay, I want you to find the unit rate. Unit rate. Well, we know unit rate means 1. So on your marker board, are you finding how long 1 revolution is how many seconds? Or are you finding out how many revolutions you can do in 1 second? Which would be a better thing? I'm going to ask you to find out how many revolutions you can do in 1 second. Okay, see how many revolutions can you get? Go ahead and see if you can solve that for me. All right, so I kind of do something like this. I made a little ratio table here, revolutions in seconds. So I'm comparing. I know there's 5 revolutions for 50 seconds. And I asked you to find the unit rate of 1 second. So to go from 50 to 1, I have to take 50. 50 divided by 50 is 1. Well, I have to do the exact same thing up here. 5 divided by 50. Well, we learned yesterday, if you're watching, we just put 5 divided by 50 like that. Now, some of us actually know. You can simplify that for me, please. What number goes into 5 and 50? 5 does. 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 50 10 times. So we found out, this would be 1/10. We found out that we get 1/10 of a revolution, so it means it hardly even goes around at all, in 1 second. Now, if you were looking today as you were grading your papers, sometimes we don't put the 1. We actually say it like this: 1/10 revolution per second. Per means 1, per 1 second, per 1 minute. All right. On your marker board, would you please solve for me this situation? 1,400 words for every 4 pages. Can you find the unit rate for that? Now, would I say one word for every how many pages? No, we're not going to do this one as our unit rate. We're going to change this here to 1 page. See if you can find out for me how many words you could type on 1 page. So I would probably do something like this. Once again, I would make my ratio table. I'm wanting to change my pages to 1. In order to go from 4 to 1, I'm going to divide by 4 here. And I'm going to divide by 4 here. So I have to solve 1,400 divided by 4. Let's see if you and I have the same answer. So I found out 350 words for every 1 page. And so I would write that like this. 350 words per page. Now, you know, mathematicians, we like to even get simpler than that. This also means per page. You could do that little slash. 350 words per page is how you read both of these. All right, let's do some more practice. All right, so I'd like for you to solve this on your marker board. It says you walk 5 kilometers in 45 minutes. Find the unit rate and interpret what it means. We'll interpret what it means after you finish, but I would like for you to go ahead and find the unit rate. Unit, remember, means the number, it means 1. So do you think I'm going to ask you that if you walk 1 kilometer, how many minutes will that take? Or would I say you walk so many kilometers in 1 minute? So I'm going to ask you to tell me, when I ask for unit rate here, you walk 1 kilometer in how many minutes? So the kilometer, I want you to use as the unit, the 1. Tell me how many minutes it's going to take you to walk 1 kilometer. All right, if you have not finished this problem, please pause your screen because I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So I'm going to have kilometers and we're comparing it to minutes. My kilometers is 5 and my minutes is 45. So if you notice, I'm kind of taking away my ratio table here for a second, not making as much drawing. And I want to change that to 1 minute, right? Now remember, if I wanted to draw this ratio table like this, I have exactly the same kind of thing, but I'm kind of changing it to a proportion right now to make it a little bit simpler here. So in order to go from 45 to 1, I have to take 45. 45 divided by 45 is 1. I have to do the exact same thing up here. 5 divided by 45, and we've been writing it like that. 5 divided by 45. So the unit rate that we just found was 1 kilometer in, oh, I did that wrong, didn't I? 5/45 kilometer in 1 minute, or we could write it 5/45 kilometer per minute, or we could do 5/45 kilometer per minute like this. Now this is a good, oops, put that up here for you guys. This is a good answer, but what if I would want an A plus answer? What would an A plus answer look like? Well, an A plus answer would actually be taking my fraction right here and reducing this. I could have simplified this to 1/9. Then I would have had the A plus answer. Good answer, because you're showing me you know how to do this. Great answer. This equals 1/9. So if you recall at the top, I said, I explain interpret what it's up here. It says interpret what it means. Well, basically, this is our rate, our unit right here. And if I interpret it, interpret means that you walked 1/9 of a mile in 1 minute. All right, the next problem I'd like for you to solve on your marker board is right down here. I'd like for you to go ahead and look at these two situations and tell me whether their rates are equivalent or not. Let's get the light off there, maybe. Might help a little bit. Are those rates equivalent or not? 126 points for every 3 games, 210 points for every 5 games. All right, so I looked at the first one here and I have 126 to 3. And if I simplify that, 3 goes into both of them. 3 obviously goes into 3 once. And 3 goes into 126 42 times. So I have 42 to 1. Here I have the rate of 210 and 5. And I know that 5 can go into both of them because that ends in a 0. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 210 42 times. So if you notice, I have 42 to 1 and 42 to 1. They both simplify to 42 to 1, which means these are equivalent. All right, I'm going to have you solve one more. All right, so the next one I'd like for you to find the unit rate is $16 for 4 pounds. Is that rate equivalent to $1 for 4 ounces? All right, be very careful if you've already started on your marker board, because if you noticed, these two aren't the same. I can't compare them right now until I make them the same, which means I'm either going to have to change my pounds to ounces or my ounces to pounds. Now let's see, how many ounces are in a pound? Well, there are actually 16 ounces equal 1 pound. So using this information, I'm going to change my 4 pounds so I can make them ounces. Well, if there's 16 ounces in 4 pounds, so I have here 4 pounds, right? And each pound is 16 ounces. How many total ounces would that make? 16 times 4. Well, hopefully most of you know that this is 64. So I'm going to change this right here to 64 ounces. Now I can compare this rate to this one because we're using the same quantity. All right, go ahead and compare and see if these are equivalent or not. So on your marker board, you need to have equivalent or not equivalent. My first one here is 16 to 64. If I simplify that, let's say, I know that 8 goes into both of these. 8 goes into 16 twice. 8 goes into 64 8 times. Oh, I can keep going here. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So reduces to a unit rate of 1 to 4. This is $1 for 4 ounces. Well, that's already simplified to 1 to 4. And if you notice, these are equivalent. All right, so the last thing I'm going to have you practice on your marker board is I'd like for you to make this ratio table of gallons, and we're comparing it to seconds. So the first one you see, the first rate is 30 gallons to 5 seconds. I would like for you to tell me how many seconds it is for 1 gallon and how many seconds it is for 17 gallons. Let's see, how would we solve that? Well, I'm going to notice from here to here to go from 30 to 1. 30 divided by 30 is 1. So remember, I have to do exactly the same thing right here. 5 divided by 30. Well, I write it like this. 5 divided by 30. Hopefully you realize you can reduce that. Okay. Remember, you reduce like this. For those of you that can't remember, most of you are starting to do this without having to make the ladder. 5 goes into both, so you should have had here 1/6. So 1 gallon and 1/6 of a second. In order to go from 1 to 17, you multiplied by 17. So now we're going to have to take this and we're going to do the same thing. So we'll take our 1/6. We're going to multiply it by 17. We've done that before. And we have 17 over 6. You can write it like this and leave it top heavy. I'm saying 17 gallons in 17/6 of a second. Or if you wanted to change it because it's top heavy, 2, 12. So we could also say 2 and 5/6. Okay, all right. So you have a little exit ticket that I'd like for you to fill in. There should be, I think there are 4 problems, and they're going to be very similar to what you and I have just practiced on our marker boards. All right, well, go ahead and finish your exit ticket. Have a great 4-day weekend, and I will see you back here on math class, I guess video, on Monday.